The LA Kings have lost their best player for now. Is this a crossroads moment for the team? And is Phillip Danault on his way out of town? And does it make sense for the Kings? That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com to place your NFL live bets all season long. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly podcast and YouTube show that wraps up the night in the NHL, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. The LA Kings were off on Tuesday. They're back in action on Wednesday in Miami and again on Thursday in Tampa. Word came down on Tuesday on the status of Kings goalie and their most important player, Darcy Kuemper. It was not the best news. It was not the worst news. Kuemper has been placed on injured reserve, meaning he will miss a minimum of 7 days. So he is out for at least the rest of this road trip. We were hoping that maybe he just got slightly shaken up, that it was precautionary after he got hit by Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars on Monday, Mikko Rantanen of the Dallas Stars on Monday, and that we hoped he would be able to return for one of the games on Wednesday or Thursday. That's obviously not the case. Now, fingers crossed, he doesn't miss any more time than about a week. By placing him on injured reserve, that allowed the Kings to call up Phoenix Copley from the AHL as his replacement. Now, we don't have any more details on what specifically the injury is to Darcy Kuemper, which is no surprise at all because it is very, very rare that NHL teams give out any specific information about any injury. It's listed as an upper body injury. He was hit in the head, neck area. So I think it is obvious that that's probably what the issue is. Could it be a concussion? I think that's certainly a possibility. If that is the case, it's hard to say exactly when he might be able to return. As I'm sure you know, if it's knee surgery or something like that, it's pretty easy to say X number of weeks, things like that. With a concussion, you don't know. Could be short term, it could be long term. If this ends up being the worst case scenario, if they were to put Darcy Kuemper on long-term injured reserve, meaning he'd be out a significant amount of time, the Kings could get some cap relief and try to go out and sign another player. Does Darcy Kuemper have any history of concussions? He does. He has had 2 confirmed concussions in his career, but both of them were a while ago, 2014 and 2016, both while he was playing for the Minnesota Wild. So I'm not a doctor, but I don't know that those concussions have anything to do with anything that may have happened with him currently. Now, the Kuemper injury does come at a very bad time for the LA Kings. The Kings have lost 3 in a row. They are struggling to score. They're on a tough road trip, and they are hanging on to a wild card spot now in the Western Conference. Kuemper has been playing great lately, even as the Kings offense has sputtered. Coming into the game against the Stars, Kuemper had allowed 2 or fewer goals in 8 of his last 10 starts. He was top 10 in the NHL in goals against average and save percentage. He has been giving the LA Kings a fighting chance to at least get a point in most of his starts this season. And they were taking advantage of that up until lately, at least getting a point for an overtime or a shootout loss. Now the pressure is even greater on the Kings to score because they now do not have that star goalie behind them to keep them in at least every game. Now, Anton Forsberg will start at least one of the 2 games coming up. I assume Phoenix Copley will start the other. It is rare that a goaltender will start on back-to-back days, but it's not completely unheard of in special situations. The Kings will have 3 days off after that game on Thursday. So if he did play back-to-back games, he'd have extra time to rest. Apparently my dog is very upset about this news. I can't blame him. So it's possible that Anton Forsberg could play in both games, but then again, the Kings do also have back-to-back games coming up next Monday and Tuesday at home. Now, if Darcy Kuemper were back for those games or one of those games, maybe they could push Forsberg to play in both the games on Wednesday and Thursday, but it's unlikely. We will likely see Forsberg in one of those games and Phoenix Copley in the other. As for Forsberg, he's been okay this year, but he's clearly not as good as Darcy Kuemper. Forsberg's goals against average is 2.82 compared to Kemper's 2.19. Forsberg's save percentage is 893 compared to Kemper's 917. He is clearly a step down. Now, that doesn't mean he can't play really well for a couple of games. So if this is a short-term issue, he might be able to hold the fort enough short-term, but long-term, that's a different story. As for Phoenix Copley, he hasn't appeared in an NHL game since October 16th of 2024, and that wasn't even a start. That was coming off the bench. Copley's last NHL start was December 10th of 2023. Now, he is obviously a goalie who does have NHL experience. He did a few years back, played very, very well for the Kings, but it's been a while that Phoenix Copley has seen a significant game or a start at the NHL level. So if this does turn out to be something long-term, the Kings will have to probably go out and make some kind of a move, but we'll jump off that bridge if we get there. Hopefully we won't. For now, I do believe that this issue with Darcy Kuemper, and this is just an opinion, it's not a fact, I don't think Darcy Kuemper will be out long-term. And while he's out, hopefully short-term, the Kings are going to have to suck it up and get through this next week or so without him. But who is going to step up for the LA Kings? Clearly, the first name to look at is Anton Forsberg. He's going to be the number one until further notice. The Kings will need him to play very well, and they'll need that team defense to play well also. Try and limit those high danger chances that Forsberg will have to face. When times are tough, you lean on your veterans and your best players. So you're looking at Captain Andrei Kopitar. You're looking at veteran Drew Doughty to lead the way, to show leadership on and off the ice. And, it feels like a pivotal moment of the season for the LA Kings right now. They're going to be without their best player. They're not playing very well. They're not scoring. The power play is struggling. They're in the standings. They're starting to slide. They need Kopitar and Doughty. They need their leading scorers, Adrian Kempe and Kevin Fiala, to step up. It's going to take a team effort. Everybody needs to chip in. But your best players and your veteran players, your leaders in times of crisis, need to be your best players, need to be your leaders. So those guys need to lead the way. Others need to follow, but they need to lead the way. The Kings have very quickly gone from a team that seemed to have a decent hold on a playoff spot to a team that's now hanging on to one by its fingernails. The Kings have been in third place for most of the season in the Pacific Division, but Tuesday night they were passed in the standings by the Edmonton Oilers, who now hold third place in the Pacific, and the San Jose Sharks also have caught the LA Kings. Both teams have 37 points. Oilers and Sharks both got wins on Tuesday. Now the Kings currently hold the tiebreaker over San Jose because they've played 2 fewer games. But right now, the Kings are the number one wildcard spot. But it's a tenuous hold on that spot. And clearly the Kings are not trending in the right direction right now. At some point, this team, this roster has to say enough is enough. And they've got to dig themselves out of this place they've put themselves in, regardless of this Darcy Kuemper injury or not. The time is now for this team to start showing something. Just being competitive is not enough. Now, this could be a defining moment for the Kings this season if they can somehow show heart and grit and step it up and win a couple of big games on the road. Maybe that's the spark that gets this team going in the right direction. If not, it does feel like things could go the other way as well. Like I said, it feels like right now is a bit of a crossroads for the LA Kings. What are they going to do? We're going to find out. Now, will the Kings make a trade to try and help turn things around? There is more smoke around a possible Phillip Danault deal. We'll get you updated on that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast, easy? Just use Indeed when it comes to hiring. Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If you've been in a position where you need to hire the right person right away, the pressure is on, and every day without that person's a setback, that's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNHL right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. Hey, thank you for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up to the next level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayers Club today and get Locked On LA Kings with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Click the link in the show notes to learn more. Well, there's been a lot of smoke recently about LA Kings veteran center Phillip Danault being traded. A couple of reputable NHL insiders, Elliot Freeman, Frank Saravelli, both recently said that word is that Danault could be moved, and there were also reports that multiple teams have asked about him. Now we have a social media post that came out on Tuesday from Marco D'Amico. I don't know who he is. Apparently, he covers the Montreal Canadiens. I'm not sure who for. He does have a YouTube show. But here was his post on social media on Tuesday. Sources indicate that Phil Danault has asked for a trade in LA. His camp hopes a deal gets done sooner than later, prior to the trade freeze. Kings are willing to wait it out, looking for a player-for-player trade. Montreal, New Jersey, and Carolina are some of the teams to kick tires there. And again, that was from Marco D'Amico, who, again, apparently is a media personality in Montreal. Montreal is where Phillip Danault came from. He is French-Canadian, and there seems to be some traction about maybe him returning there. So if you're wondering what is this trade freeze that he's referring to, I think he's talking about the holiday roster freeze, which is between December 20th and December 27th. During that time, there is no roster activity over the holidays. You can't place anyone on waivers. You can't send players up or down, and you can't trade anyone. So obviously that's just a couple of days away. Danault's agent, Alan Walsh, also responded to the post and said, quote, "You never bothered to check with me. Shameful attention-seeking reporting. Hashtag not an insider." And he was, quote tweeting the Marco D'Amico post about Phillip Danault asking for a trade. So that was the agent of Phillip Danault. If you're not familiar with Alan Walsh, it's pretty rich that he would call someone out for looking for attention, because he's the king of that as far as NHL agents go. But hey, he represents Phillip Danault. He's always going to have his back. And it is worth pointing out that Alan Walsh didn't deny that Phillip Danault has requested a trade. He could have said, Phillip Danault has not requested a trade. This is not true. He didn't say that. So that's just pointing that out. Now, if it is true that Danault has asked for a trade, then that's kind of the first we've heard about this. There were other reports that said he might be open to it, but there was never anything saying that he specifically had requested a trade. And I've said this before, and I'll repeat it. I don't really understand why Phillip Danault would want to be traded. His role hasn't changed since he first signed with the Kings. He's not getting any significantly less ice time. His role hasn't been diminished. He's not a healthy scratch for games. He's a third line center, and that's basically what he's been his entire time in LA. And yes, he's been struggling offensively, but it's not because of the coaches not putting him in a position to succeed or taking his ice time away. He's struggled because he has struggled. I mean, it's on him. I mean, I could see if he had been demoted in the lineup, if he'd been dropped down to the fourth line center, or if he had been a healthy scratch more often than not, if his ice time had been greatly reduced, then I can understand him being unhappy and saying, hey, I want to go somewhere else where I can play more. He's playing as much as he's always played. He's played in the same role that he's always played in. So why he's suddenly disgruntled, if that is the case, I don't know why. The team is still in a playoff spot. Yeah, they're not playing as well as they have maybe in recent years, but they haven't fallen off a cliff. I think that Phillip Danault is well liked and respected by pretty much everyone in the organization, his teammates, his the front office, the coaching staff. He wears an A on his sweater. It's not like they ripped that off his chest or something. So I don't really, it's hard for me to understand why he's unhappy with the organization. He may be unhappy with his play. I think we all are, as far as his offense, because it's non-existent, but he's still playing good defensive hockey, and he's still pretty good in the faceoff circle. And, the things that the Kings want him to do, I think he's still doing, frankly. And the LA Kings, you could argue if you're an offensive player and you're not scoring, you could say, well, the Kings offense, this style, I want to go somewhere else where I can be in a more up-tempo style where I can have more opportunities to score goals, things like that. You would think Phillip Danault's game is defense. That's the Kings game. He's a perfect fit here. So again, I'm not saying I can't say for sure he hasn't requested a trade. I just don't get what would be the reason why he's suddenly unhappy here. He's been here for many years and seemed to fit in well. And if he does go to another team, if he goes to Montreal, he's going to play the same role there. He's probably going to get the same minutes there. So I don't know. It just seems very weird to me. Now, also on that post, it said the Kings are willing to wait it out, which leads to the question, why would the Kings want to trade him? And I know some of you are saying, well, he stinks. He's got no goals. And certainly that is disappointing. But again, that's not what the Kings value Phillip Danault for. And they brought him here to be someone who provides center depth, someone who's reliable defensively, someone who's pretty good taking faceoffs, someone who has playoff experience and is a leader. That's Phillip Danault. So why would the Kings be looking to move away from that? Especially if this Kings team is all about the playoffs. He's a guy who's got experience in the playoffs. If you get rid of him, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to Alex Turcotte? Are you going to go to Alex Laferriere as your third line center? Are they going to be better than Phillip Danault in the playoffs? And I know we're talking about playoffs like we know we're going to get there. And right now, I don't know that that's the case, but that's kind of what the big picture is supposedly with the Kings. So I don't know that the Kings are all that motivated necessarily to move off from a player that seems to suit them well as far as what they do. But let's assume that Phillip Danault has requested a trade. And when a player typically does that, the organization will try to accommodate him, because why do you want a player on your team if he doesn't want to play for you? But the Kings are under no obligation to trade him. He is under contract through next season. So the Kings don't have to trade him if they don't want to. It's not like he's going to sit out and not play games or be a holdout or something like that. So I asked, why would the Kings want to trade Phillip Danault? I guess you could answer, because it feels like the Kings need to do something right now to get them out of their funk. Now, would trading Phillip Danault solve all the Kings' problems? I doubt it. But maybe it could help. Now, that internet post also said the Kings were looking for a player-for-player trade. So they're not looking to get prospects, which makes sense, or draft picks, because the Kings are supposedly in it to win it now, right? They've brought in these veteran players to have playoff success now. So trading Phillip Danault, taking a player off your roster and not getting another player on your roster doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So what are the Kings looking for in return? Well, certainly some scoring help, someone to help on the power play seems to be the most glaring area of need, especially if Andrei Kuzmenko is not going to be that player to help get this team some kind of a jolt offensively. He hasn't done it so far, but is that player available for a Phillip Danault, somebody who can significantly come in and help offensively? Probably not. It could, the whole change of scenery, one player for another. If you can find another player who's kind of similar in that regard, that maybe has had some offensive game in the past, but isn't playing very well at the moment, but the change of scenery you hope can kickstart him. Maybe there's a player like that. I don't know. Now, I guess there's also the possibility the Kings could move Danault for an asset that could be part of a bigger deal down the line, that the Kings could use the cap space from Phillip Danault's $5.5 million salary to go out and make a real addition of a player of some kind of consequence that could really help. Of course, to do that, that means that the Kings will likely have to trade away something of significance as well. And who knows what that could be. If they're desperate enough, could I see a Brandt Clark being in play? Yes. Certainly a Liam Greentree and a first-round pick, something like that. But you're talking about getting, obviously, something significant back in return, a top 6 winger or something like that could help out. So we'll see. Again, there's a ton of smoke right now surrounding Phillip Danault. It seems almost at this point, there's so much smoke, it's hard to believe that there's nothing to this. But I don't think the Kings are necessarily in any kind of a hurry to do this. But at the same time, that could change. If things really go south here, if Darcy Kuemper is going to be out longer than expected, if the Kings start, continue losing, if they fall completely out of a playoff spot, maybe at that point they say we've got to consider all possibilities and we can't afford to be patient. So we'll see. It does seem like the Kings do need something to spark them here soon, hopefully, unless things can change, unless this team can really step it up and win a couple of games here on the road, get Darcy Kuemper back, and then maybe we're doing okay. But again, Phillip Danault certainly seems like he could be the part of some kind of change here very soon. The Darcy Kuemper injury also affecting the Ontario Reign, and we'll have a Reign report as well about their last couple of games. We'll do that next year on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place your bet as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlighted moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a quarterback gets hot, a defense tightens up, or momentum flips because of a key turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as a player heats up. You can bet on who will score the next touchdown, what will happen on the next drive, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action as the season heats up, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. We talked about the status of Kings goalie Darcy Kuemper and that the Kings had to call up Phoenix Copley from the Ontario Reign. I have looked up, by the way, any kind of injury update on Eric Portillo, and there is absolutely nothing out there at all. So your guess is as good as mine when it comes to Eric Portillo and when he could return to the Ontario Reign and be available in case of emergency for the LA Kings. Right now it's Phoenix Copley without any question. As for the Ontario Reign, Isaiah Seville is now their current number one goalie, with Copley being called up. And their backup is somebody named Matthias Scholl. They called him up from Greensboro of the ECHL. You might ask, what foreign country is Matthias Scholl from? He's from Hermosa Beach. He's 25 years old, former member of the Junior Kings. Played college hockey at Bemidji State in Minnesota for 4 seasons. He made his pro debut last season in Greenville. He played in 4 games. He went 2-2. This season with the Swamp Rabbits, he had a 4-5-2 record. So Matthias Scholl from Hermosa Beach is now your number 2 goalie for the Ontario Reign. We do have a rain report from our Reign fan correspondent. Don in the San Fernando Valley is going to update us on the last couple of games of the Reign, provide some detail into the games that I couldn't give you because he actually watches the games. So he said the Reign split a pair of games in Colorado against the top team in the Pacific Division. Friday, December the 12th, the Reign beat the Colorado Eagles 3-2. First two periods were scoreless, with both teams holding each other in check, although Colorado had the advantage in territorial play. The two goals that Phoenix Copley led in were legitimately tough chances, and he couldn't be faulted on either one, in my opinion. The AHL veteran guys for the Reign carried most of the offense in the third period and basically won it for Ontario. Glenn Gaudin had 2 goals. Taylor Ward had the other. Andre Lee collected an assist on the winning Reign goal when he made a nice back pass to Sam Bolduc to start the sequence. Lee leads the Reign in scoring with 19 points in 24 games. So that was the Reign's 3-2 win over Colorado on Friday. On Saturday, December the 13th, Colorado flipped the script and picked up a 6-1 win over Ontario. Defenseman Kirill Kirsanov was a healthy scratch for a third straight game. On Colorado's Teddy Bear Toss night, that's a great minor league tradition, the Reign were held to just 11 shots in the first two periods, while Colorado had 26, many dangerous. Glenn Gaudin scored the only goal for Ontario on a nice goal mouth pass from Jack Hughes. The Eagles poured it on with 6 goals, and they just flat out outplayed Ontario much of the way. Hard to say if any of the goals were stoppable by Isaiah Seville, but in my opinion, none of them looked fluky. The Colorado goalie, Isaac Push, was very good when he had to be, but only had to face 20 shots, stopping 19. 2 Reign players were a -3 in this game. Forward Nikita Alexandrov and defenseman Jakub Dvorak. Seems likely that Kirill Kirsanov will be back in the lineup for Dvorak the next game, but we shall see. And that was our Reign fan correspondent, Don, in the San Fernando Valley, updating us on the last 2 games of the Ontario Reign. And he added, next game is Wednesday in Bakersfield. The Reign have dropped to third place in the Pacific Division behind Colorado and San Jose. Ontario, 31 points on the season with a record of 15-8-1. So you are now a little bit more updated on what's going on with the Kings AHL affiliate, the Ontario Reign. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Locked On LA Kings. Make sure you subscribe and follow so you get all the latest episodes. And did Locked On LA Kings make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media. To secure a free month of our brand new Everydayers Club, just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we will drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayers Club and get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to members-only Discord channel. For you Everydayers, those of you listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, our next show will be following the Kings Florida Panthers game Wednesday night. Hopefully we'll have some good things to talk about. A great Anton Forsberg performance would be part of it, I hope. As always, at the end of the week, we'll have our fan feedback show. You get to sound off on everything and anything going on with the LA Kings. The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. You can always post your comments if you're watching on YouTube in the comments section. We'd love for you to stay interactive with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. That'll do it. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings go.